Ladies and gentlemen, look who's back on the show. Jonathan, a pleasure, man. How you
Yeah,
feeling?
yeah. A little bit tired, but good. These are, you work for years and then it comes down to certain moments like this. Of course, the release of the game will be a bigger moment, but
Yeah.
it's like a mini release of the game that we just did. Yeah.
Well, last time we spoke, you'd revealed the game, the
Yeah,
announcement,
yeah,
but now
yeah,
this
yeah.
is this is getting it in players' hands. What's the feeling? How is it different from announcement to actually a demo out there? And by the way, everyone, make sure you get out there and play the demo before it's gone.
Yeah, it'll be gone on Monday. Is this
This will be
going
out
out?
today,
Right.
so
Today? Okay.
they'll have a
Yeah.
little bit of time. Yeah.
You have a day and a half or 2 days to play it, depending when you see this. So just to be very specific, so people know, this is a demo on Steam
Yeah.
in Next Fest, which is a thing where Steam does a lot of demos, perhaps too many demos. I've
Mm.
heard various numbers, and I don't know which is more accurate, but I've heard that there are 4,000 demos, and I've heard that there are 5,000 demos.
I've heard 5,000.
5,000.
Mm,
Okay.
mm,
So that's probably the accurate number. That's a lot of demos just to show up on Steam in a week. And then to drop your own game that you've been working on for 10 years in the middle of that and be like, we're going to get players' attention is challenging, but it is going well. Um, we're actually toward the top of Next Fest. So people are liking the game. I mean, probably the multiplayer games are at the very top. I haven't been looking at those, but when I click around at comparable, single player kind of games, we're doing pretty well, you know.
Is that
You
based
know.
on installs, reviews, a bit of everything?
You can sort of look in a few places, right? You can look in SteamDB at simultaneous players. You can look at reviews on the Steam page for the demo usually. Like most games have a separate page for the demo than the eventual full game. Now,
Yep.
those things are unreliable as well. So like, I've noticed with our game, it takes people longer if they're going to review the game on Steam. Because the demo's long, it takes longer for the reviews to trickle in,
Mm.
than it does for a short demo. But it's still uh it's still a useful metric is what I would say. And you just sort of look at these things. You also have to be careful though. So the weird thing about Next Fest, that I'm surprised and also not surprised about is it doesn't like have that much player participation compared to how much you might think, right?
Mm.
So like you might think like, oh, there's all these demos of games and they're all free. Like everyone who plays stuff on Steam
Mm.
must be playing this week. But I think the reality is it's much smaller. Like if you look at the number of players that you have during a demo like this, it's actually much smaller than you would have during launch for whatever reason. And I think it's just maybe a lot of game demos aren't quite worth playing, or some people feel like, oh, if I'm going to play it, I want to play the real game. I don't want to play the demo. Or maybe some people are like, there's so many demos. I just don't know what to play, right? And
Mm.
I think it's some mixture of all those things. And so, and then it's also just like, man, with 5,000 games, if you look at, so fortunately, we're sort of above the knee of the curve of like what games people are paying attention to, right? But with 5,000 demos, most of them are not getting that many players, right? And that's just sort of a microcosm of how Steam is usually. It's like there's the games that end up on the charts, and then there's this vast number of games every month that release that don't quite make that. But we're doing good. I don't want to, talk too much about weird business stuff, but that's what we're thinking about this week. And then, it's also cool because it's like, all right, let's get out. This is the first time I've done a demo on PC. For Braid, we did a demo on Xbox 360, but that was like just at release. It was like part of how Xbox Live Arcade worked back then was you could just download a demo for things and then you could like buy it, from the
Yeah,
end or
yeah.
whatever. And but that was a little different from this. This is like releasing a demo early, so you can, on PC especially, say, okay, are there technical problems? Is there some disaster that's going to make people not like the game? And we can also check game balance stuff. Like there's definitely one puzzle that I want to tweak.
Which one?
It's one of the ones that we released today. So
Oh,
the
okay.
backstory here is we decided as an extra thing, the demo is pretty big. It's I think 105 levels right now. We've gone back and forth about how much to put in.
Hmm.
105.
I've never
Um,
heard that, by the way, in a demo to have 100 levels.
yeah,
Please
it's
point me to a
ridiculous.
demo with that amount of content.
Yeah. Although some of them are smaller early game levels that take a minute or two.
Yeah, but they're
But
still
that's fun.
satisfying.
It's fun to breeze through, right? And
Mm,
they all have
mm.
an idea. Like it's always progressing to a new idea every
Yes.
time. So it's never like that was easy. And I also don't see the point. It was just stupid. It's not the game condescending to you. It's the game
No.
saying like, oh, have you noticed that this thing could happen, right? And so anyway, in the early game, the levels flow by pretty fast, which is also good for other reasons. Like when people sit down to play a game, they're just kind of not used to the whole game yet, right? They're figuring out what they're playing, they're figuring out how the controls feel and all these things. And so just keeping it not super just keeping it flowing in the
Flowing.
beginning, I
Yeah,
think is
yeah.
good. And then with so we did this demo in two parts. We released the first part at the start of Next Fest, which was Monday morning. I looked like hell looking back in the video, like I was just so tired from working on it. And I did a Monday morning, like, and I also, I probably slept like 4 hours because I had like adrenaline. Because you work on a
Yeah,
game
of
for like 10
course.
years and then it's coming out to the public the first time, right?
I'm surprised you
Um,
even got some sleep.
yeah, I'm pretty good at sleeping, it turns out, but I did not get a full night's sleep. So we did that announce, and then it went great. Like people really liked the demo. I think they really, some of this stuff comes in pretty late when you make a game, like the final polished feel of it, right? So
Mm.
we've been working on this game forever. Most of what we've been working on most of the time and most of the problems we've been solving and all that is not even things that people are going to see this week because it's a really big game. And, how do the end games work and how does the structure of the overworld work in these particular situations and stuff? And, people don't see most of that. Uh, but then when we get serious about like, oh, we're going to release this demo in like a month, we start looking at this stuff like how does the game feel when you first drop in? What's the mood like? So there's this intro tutorial level. I'm not a fan of long tutorials, but we have a short one. Um, and it didn't have graphics like even like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, and we just made it all nice since then. And you know, that's just
Yeah.
the kind of stuff that comes together. And so, well, and then the voice acting was all temp voice until is it Friday? Yeah, literally 1 week ago, I
You went
started
to Warner
putting.
Brothers, didn't you?
Yeah, I went to Warner Brothers. We did a blazing intense 2 days of recording with 8 different actors. We need more actors for the full game, but this was just in fact, we didn't
Well, let me
even.
know. I'll fly down from
Yeah,
Australia.
yeah, yeah. I
Uh,
mean, I was thinking about casting an Australian accent in there.
yeah, you
But
need one,
we'll
eh?
see.
No,
Yeah.
did I notice Darren DePaul in there?
Darren
He
DePaul is in the game.
he's in it,
Yeah.
yeah.
He's
Reinhardt.
a really fun
Yeah.
actor to work with. Yeah, he plays Reinhardt in Overwatch.
Yeah.
He plays someone different, like in every Doom game, which is where I really recognize his voice from. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
they keep killing off his character, but his voice is
Yeah.
so
Like
good. They
demon
keep.
or overlord type, I
Well, he
think,
was like
characters.
in Doom 2016, he was like the head of the corporation that built the Mars base and like built himself a
Oh,
robot
yeah,
body or
yeah, yeah,
something, you
yeah.
know?
He might be Samuel Hayden. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um,
Yeah.
but
Very
But
talented.
like Darren DePaul's been in a lot of games. He's a very experienced
Yeah.
actor. A number
Who
of
else
our
is in it?
actors,
Can you reveal
uh,
anyone else for me here? Exclusive?
Liam O'Brien from Critical
Wow.
Role is in it. He
Jeez.
plays Warrior.
Good cast already.
Obviously, well, yeah, and back in the Witness days, he was actually the voice director on The Witness, and so I spent a lot
Huh?
of days hanging out with him, and he would sort of direct, and I would sort of do the part of the direction that's like just what do we want for the game and how is the game supposed to feel and like who is this character like describing that and all that, but he was doing the nuts and bolts of making that happen from minute to minute in the session. And he's very experienced working with actors. And I think he hasn't done that in a long time because, Critical Role was like so big, right? That he just kind of didn't need to do that anymore, or I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Um,
it's huge.
but yeah, he's in the game. We have a bunch of really talented actors actually, and we're gonna add some more because not
Mm.
not all the characters in the demo are voiced because we ran out of time, and also just it costs a lot of money to do this, and so part of what we were doing is sort of a test of the whole process. Like, okay, if we're trying to do a certain mood for the game and a certain kind of acting, right? So one choice you got to make early on is what is the tone of the characters? Like, how do they come across in the game? And one of the things that I decided was like, look, there's two things I really don't like about most video game voice acting, right?
Tell
One
me.
is a lot of it sounds like Saturday morning cartoons. I don't know if you have that in Australia on TV, but like
Yeah,
in the
yeah, yeah.
US, it's just like cartoon voice acting where people are kind of really loud and shouting into the mic and like not really
It
acting
wouldn't
that
work
much.
in this game, I tell you right
It wouldn't work,
now.
no. And then the other thing
Mm.
is like the Assassin's Creed thing or whatever,
Mm.
where the, or a lot of Hollywood movies actually as well, where like all the characters that are supposed to be from a foreign place talk
Are
in this
American.
accent.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
well, are American first of all, but also they just talk like if they're supposed to be from Spain, they talk in a Spanish accent really slowly because like they're doing the accent and it makes the characters sound like they're dumb actually and that they
yeah.
can't speak their own language fluently. And this is a game, so it's a puzzle game. So the players are smart and you want the characters to be smart, right? You don't want them to be dumb. You want them to be like capable. They're heroes, right? They're capable people who are aspirational in some ways. Um, not in the same way. If you play like a first person shooter or something and your guy, you got the camera really close up and your guy like looks cool. But in this game, you got to do it a little differently. It's like because the camera is really far. For people who haven't seen the screenshots, it's kind
I'll,
of like a Diablo style
I'll have
perspective,
gameplay
you could
over
say.
it now, so
Yeah.
people can see.
So
Yeah.
so you're kind of looking down and your characters are pretty small on the screen most of the time. And what that means is there's sort of more like an iconic idea of the character in your head. Like, oh, this is the red guy who's kind of burly and can push a lot of things, but you don't see him up close. And so the voice goes all the rest of the way in in defining the character, right? Because there's not a lot of visuals.
We don't get
Uh,
the facial at all,
yeah, at
so it
all.
has
I
to
mean,
come through from the voice.
we haven't really modeled the faces like hardly at all. Like if you
Mm.
actually were to zoom in on the guys, it's like they have very minimal. We'll probably do a little more before ship, but it's like, it's very basic.
Yeah.
And so the voices are super important. And so it's like, look, I want these characters to sound like they're smart. Um, which doesn't, by the way, mean they all have the same personality, right? They all have to be smart in different ways and have different personalities. And so just like trying to figure that out. And I think we've got it nailed for the majority of the characters. There's some of it that I'm going to rewrite pretty heavily. But this is all just
Why
to
is
say that
that? Can I ask why the
um,
rewrites?
because we're just figuring it out.
Okay.
One thing I would say is in some parts of the demo, I actually want there to be a little less talking than we have now, you know? And
Whereabouts at the start there, or
no, well, a little bit. Like, so there's audio logs at the start that
mm,
probably could be a little shorter
mm,
than they are. Um, I think they would be substantively the same material. It's just, you find you can cut little phrases here and there that sometimes one thing that happens when you're writing is like, look, I want to communicate all these details of all this situation, right? And it's like, well, we actually don't need to communicate all of them.
hmm
Even if I think some of them could come out later in the game, we just need enough to get you started. And when I wrote, especially those audio logs in the beginning, they've been through a number of drafts already. Um, I did make the first one a few sentences longer, like right before we recorded it, and Now I'm like, okay, we probably didn't need to do that. But
That's all
listening
right.
to it in the final game, it's like, oh, this is really how this feels, when people play it. And it gives you the extra information, right? About
Yeah.
like, oh, this is what this game really is. I mean, the whole time you're making a game, like it doesn't exist yet. And so you have an idea what it should be. I mean, unless, if you're making like Call of Duty 17, you kind of know what that is, right? It's just like different missions and whatever. Um, but anytime you're doing something that's even a little different, um, you have to visualize what it's going to be, and that's different from what it actually ends up being as you build it, and you have to constantly recalibrate and say, oh, the characters need to be a certain way because it actually feels a certain way when you play that I didn't foresee or whatever. Some of this gets pretty subtle, so it's hard to describe, but
Sorry, by
it's
the way,
just
guys. I am
like,
I am sick.
yeah,
If
yeah,
you can hear my voice, John, with the trailer, the second overview trailer, I got to say it was substantially better than the first, in my opinion. I just think
yeah,
when
yeah,
your voice was over it and you're explaining it and you're passionate about it,
yeah.
I think it just came across a lot better. How did
Yeah,
you
I
feel
think
about
I
it?
think that's the general impression. The first trailer, man, we had a hard time making it. It was a behind the scenes. Um,
I know it was a bit
there
of
was a
a
lot of
shit show.
trying to work with people and ending up not working with them. So we actually had relatively little time on that trailer to like try to polish it and make it good. Um, Whereas with this other one, so that explanation trailer really is kind of a revised version of a video that we made to pitch the game to publishers like a couple years ago, even.
Ah,
It's just like, hey, here's this game we're making, it's this and that, and you know, um, and we just felt like, people might respond to that style of thing better. Now, some of these questions are complicated. So, like the first trailer, like a lot of the information that I say in the explanation trailer is in the original trailer, which was announced at Game Awards. Like, if you look really close and kind of know what you're looking at, but you can't really expect people to do that. And there was this question about like, what do we do to like fit in at TGA? Like, I don't think that kind of developer explanation trailer
I understand.
is a thing. It's like a different mood there, right? And so
I
we
completely
were trying
understand.
to do all this stuff. If I were to do the first trailer again, I would do it very differently. That is for sure. But I still don't know exactly how it would end up because
It's
it's
tough.
a really hard. There's a few ways you could go. I might actually choose to go a different way with it. So the way that we went with it was like, let's try to explain the whole game, which is this whole big complicated situation, without verbally directly explaining it, but like hinting at it with all these characters saying stuff. And it's just really hard to do that and get that to work when the game is really complicated and is something that people haven't necessarily seen somebody else do before, right? Um, so it was just a really hard problem. And if I were to do an announced trailer again, maybe I would keep it short and it would just be more like, here's the game. It's about puzzles. I mean, not me saying this, but like the
Yeah, yeah,
impression you
yeah.
would get. It's got a lot of story, and we're gonna tell you in a few months more about the game. I might have like tried to do a much shorter, punchier thing.
What about the key art? The key art's also been upgraded, in my opinion. You've got this beautiful cape with the
Yeah,
worlds kind of in the cape. It fits beautifully.
yeah.
Is that
We're
always the
gonna
plan to change that?
No, I mean the key art again. So, okay, I'll outline what happened basically. In previous games, because we were completely indie, um, when it came to stuff like key art or trailer, we just knew like, oh, we have to do this all ourselves. So let's just get it started. And there's downsides to that. Maybe you feel like, oh, I can't do a trailer that's that polished or has that high of a budget, but if it's still in your control and you have a good just as a developer, if you have a good sense of taste and whatever, you could make a pretty good trailer even on a low budget, right? So when for this game, We started working with a publisher, Arc Games, and part of that is to help publicize the game and all that, which is going great. But part of it, because I'd never worked with a publisher before, I was like, I'm not sure. Let's try to leverage them and see what the benefits are, right? Like you want to, if you're working with people, you want to maximize that. And so I was like, well, I know that for like AAA companies and all this, there's all these companies that like make trailers and make them like sizzly and do production and all that, and they could do key art. So we have very talented artists on our team, but they're a different kind of artist for the most part than like who would draw that kind of key art. Like we
It's
have
a different skill, isn't
environment
it?
artists for a video
Yeah, yeah.
game, and they can draw 3D meshes and stuff. Um, and you could imagine. So what we did in The Witness for this problem is the key art was literally just a screenshot from the game. Like
He
we
wants
just put
to.
the camera looking
That's
down at the island,
hilarious.
and we took a
Oh,
screenshot,
that's
and
so
then
funny.
nobody has to draw it, right?
How did that
Um,
work? I'm surprised that worked back in the day. So it worked so well.
yeah, well,
It's
I think
unconventional, isn't it?
yeah, for different games, different things work. I don't know
Yeah.
that that would be a good approach for this game, but
No, no, no.
if I were in that situation again, I would try the same thing. But okay,
Yeah.
so what was happening was, we got the word that we would be in Game Awards, and um we were like, okay, we got 2 months to come up with key art and trailer and all, because you want your Steam page to go live at the same time
Of
and
course.
all that. So you want all that ready. And I was like, okay, I know that there are these companies that do this. And so let's just have the publisher hook us up with someone who they've worked with other developers. You know, um, so Arc Games, some of the previous games they had published that people might know were Remnant 1 and 2 and like Fellowship, like, games that have gone through this process at a decently high level of like production value and stuff. And
Mm.
um, so I was like, let's just try that process. And it just really didn't go well for us, you know. Um, and talking to other developers since then, they've been pretty unanimous in saying, yeah, you've actually got to run all this stuff yourself. Um,
Interesting.
Especially when it's a weird game that people don't understand, because it just doesn't come out well, you know. Whereas again, like I think if you're doing a Call of Duty game, it's pretty easy for somebody from an outside company to understand your game, look at the years of trailers that have happened for it, see what's working, and like, oh, let's do
100%.
something like this one, right?
Yeah.
Whereas for a game like this, that's like really quirky and weird, that's hard. And so we spent like a long time just like trying to make that work, and then switching who we were working with, which costs time and money and all that. And then the trailer that you saw in the end was the final outcome of that. It was not produced within our company. It was produced by somebody else, who I
And they
was
did the
working with.
artwork as well?
Well, okay. So the original key art was done by the first company who I
Oh,
ended up
okay.
not.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They were going to do key art and trailer all in one package.
Yeah, but
And
you
then I
fired them on the trailer.
I didn't like what they were doing for the trailer. And I was panicking because I'm like, dude,
Yeah, it's coming
TGA's
up.
coming, the
Coming
clock is
up. Yeah,
ticking,
I
right?
100% agree.
And
Yeah,
like
I can
the,
see
the
where you're
more
coming from.
time goes by, the worse our trailer is going to be because we won't have time. Yeah. And so it was kind of a mess. For anyone out there who's an indie developer that's earlier on the curve and hasn't experienced this, just do this stuff in-house. Um,
Yeah.
it's sometimes you gotta, I don't know someone who does, you know, uh, so motion graphics for trailers, which is like the cool, I don't know, zooming logos and particles or whatever. And you got to find someone who does that. But it'll go better if you just find an independent person who does that and direct them. Like these bigger trailer house companies, I do think they have a place in the ecosystem. I'm not saying they're bad companies. It's just they work better when they know what they're going to do,
Like
and the
established
game
games
is
or
is very
franchises.
understood.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so for us, it wasn't good. And so that's the behind the scenes story of that trailer. I still think it did the job like functionally. Like we got a lot of wish lists off it and stuff on Steam, which is kind of what you want
Mm.
because wish lists drive the algorithm and all that, and you get good placement when you release. At the same time, I think a lot of people were like, I still don't know what this game is. after watching that, or like it seems kind of weird. Like they didn't feel hyped for the game after it, right? They were like, "Oh, that's kind of weird." Um, so that's what I would do differently is like, how do we make a trailer where people are straight up hyped at the end, you know?
Well, that's what I like with the second trailer is that, you could have got Darren DePaul to do the voice and it would have probably been great. But I kind of prefer getting developers to talk about their own games. There's just something different about it, more personable or something about it that I just think you want to support them more. Kind of
Yeah, that was
agree.
our thinking too, is
Yeah.
like there's different kind of trailers, right? Some kind of trailers are like, hey, we're really going to impress you with like amazing visuals or whatever, but that's not what this was. This was just like, look, we're just going to tell you about the game. And we're not even going to do like a hard sell job or whatever and try to convince you to buy the game because I think as soon as you start thinking that way, like the messaging gets weird and you start being like I don't quite want to say manipulative is not quite the right word because you can do it non-manipulatively, but you start being very just like transactional in terms of what you say and don't say. And I was like, no, people will respond better if it's just like a developer being chill and telling you about their game and you decide if you're interested or not. And we're just going to give you the information. And obviously we like the game because it's our game. Here you go. And I think that is a very successful thing. We'll have we have plans for, as we get closer to release, at least one or two more trailers. One more of them will probably be in this like just casual developer style, like we're talking about.
Yeah.
Another one in a different style, different to both of these.
Hmm.
And yeah, we're just gonna have fun doing some stuff,
With
as we get to release.
as the demo's out now, I always thought demos were kind of they're a marketing tool, not a tool where you take in feedback and change things, right? But you're kind of using it as both, would you say?
Yeah, I mean the game's so big that we can't really change basic things about it at this point,
No, but you are listening to
But
some feedback and taking it in, aren't
yeah,
you? Yeah, yeah.
and at multiple different levels. So some of it is like, okay, what options are we going to need on the graphics menu? Like that's kind of a programming thing. We kind of know, but like let's just hear from people directly as they play the game. Like, oh, I want to be able to frame limit. It's funny, right? Because some people want to limit to 30 frames so that their laptop battery lasts a long time. Some people want to like max out the frame rate
Mm,
regardless of what it is. And most people are just going to launch the game and not care about any of that, right? But you
yeah.
just you just sort of figure these things out. And then in gameplay, I think the gameplay is working very well.
Yeah,
People
it's
like the
awesome.
game. It's just there's a few things I would move around a little bit. Um, but it's also confirmation that we're on the right track and don't have any emergencies. Like if everybody was bouncing off the game really early, we would be like, oh, maybe maybe we've got to figure something out before we release this. But that hasn't been the case. We've been getting really good response in terms of, how many people wish list the game. Um, and well, and how many people play the demo, relative to other games in Next Fest. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy with this result, and I'm just kind of chilling for a day, resting after like 2 to 3 weeks of intensive work.
So tell me you're not
Yeah.
releasing this game in September, right? The September bloodbath. I mean, there's
Um,
a lot coming out in September.
we
God.
have not fully decided, is what I will say.
You should go
Part of
head
the
to head
reason
with
is to
GTA. You should go on the same day and say, fuck it.
GTA is what is it November
November
now?
something, yeah, it's
I think
17
I'm
or something.
thinking 19 or yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll do that either. Um, but
Are you this year? You can confidently say
yeah,
this
we're
year?
still saying 2026. There's a lot to do. I'm going to be really busy to make sure this game comes out in 2026. Uh, but it's realistic still, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, as Miyamoto also said, a late game. is only late till it comes out, but a bad game is bad forever, right? It's
Yeah,
not a
because I
bad
feel like
game.
if you came out in March or Feb around then, kind of like Mewgenics, you might have a better run just with all those games behind you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, we're kind of poor these days. I don't know that we could wait that long, honestly.
Yeah, yeah, I
Maybe
don't
we
know.
could. I don't know. We're
Seriously,
going
I
to be,
know.
we have a publisher who thinks a lot about these things, and so we're just gonna strategize with them. But that's one reason why, because that's one of the things people want to know a lot is when's the game coming out? Especially when they have the demo, it's like, okay, cool, I like this. When is the final thing coming out? And the answer is we're still deciding based on some of these factors. But yeah, the plan is still 2026.
Would it be an easier decision, let's say, if GTA wasn't coming out and all these games weren't in September? Is it that, or is it just there's more to do that you want to get done? Where is the line there?
It's
Because it
kind
looks
of
very
both.
polished to me. It's a beautiful, beautiful game.
Yeah, so the entire game is not done in the sense that if you got far enough, there are levels that like don't have art yet and stuff that we've got to do, and
Okay.
that'll take some amount of time. Um, we actually just enlarged our environment art team to make sure we can get all that done this year. So, we're taking care of that stuff. Um, but yeah, like if you somehow if we were to ship you the full game accidentally instead of the demo, and you played far enough, you would be like, oh yeah, this area clearly isn't done yet. Or there's stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that's fine. That's part of what you do at the end of the game is you just go through everything and make it
Hmm.
nice. Make it as nice as the beginning that you saw. I will say, most of the levels do have art. Um, it's just stuff toward the end of the game that doesn't.
My favorite character so far, I would say, is the wizard. He is kind of limited, but he's also a bit of a mind fuck. Like,
Yeah,
and I
I
just
know
found
exactly what you're saying.
I also like I don't know what his name is, but the guy that pushes the boulder. Is that a warrior? Yeah, yeah.
The guy who can
I,
push many things. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
And the mirror guy, I'm just again that my brain's freezing on that stuff. But
A lot of people say that, which
mm,
is interesting because I wouldn't have thought that that was like the most difficult part of the game for some people, but for a lot of people apparently it is, which is weird because I don't know. I mean, we do all this nice stuff to help you see where you're going to end up when you use the magic mirrors and all that, but yeah, it's just hard to think about, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, so some of the levels are definitely harder than others.
yeah, yeah.
We do try to make the harder levels optional. Right now, you can't really tell from looking at them in the overworld what's optional and what's not. So that might be something we do some work on. Um, but you'll find, sometimes if you're stuck on a level, you can hit escape and say go back to the overworld, and then stuff will unlock that you can go do because you solved the level before it, which was the actual one that was, things were gated on. Or I mean, you can find out about it in the opposite order. Like you can go, there's these cages that like lock down objects and stuff, and you can go touch one of those, and it'll tell you what level you need to solve. And often
That's
that'll
right.
be like in the middle of like if there's four levels. So let's explain this. Um, so you wander around this overworld and you go into levels,
Uh,
and because the game's about like sequences of ideas, you don't pop all the way out to the overworld after every single level. Sometimes you do, and later in the game you probably do that more. But the cadence is often I go into a level and I play one, two, three, four things,
mhm.
and then I come back out. And uh, often when there's a sequence like that, the important level isn't the last one. But in this case, I don't
Okay.
remember. I'm just saying, generally speaking,
So when you say important
that's the
level,
case.
well, you could do the first one, let's say, and still progress through in the overworld.
It's usually not the first one, but it'll usually be like 3 out of 4 or something. Um,
Right. Okay. That's interesting.
yeah, not always. Sometimes it's all four. One thing we try to do in the design is give people a little bit, as much choice as we can about what they want to play when. So there's, in the part two of the demo, it's much more nonlinear. You can go in the beginning of the game, because we're introducing these heroes, and
Yeah.
it's like you're learning how this works, you kind of need to be kind of linear for the most part because um, it's not really a tutorial, but it's like you don't know the game yet. And like here, we're giving you the stuff. And then in demo part two, which we unlocked today, um, there is a little, we actually add two more characters, but you play those
Oh, nice.
first, and then you can get out to this non-linear part. Um, where you play stuff in really any order. And um, so so the overworld, you wander around screen by screen, and so the screens are visible in any order that you want in this case. So if you get stuck on one, you can like go out and try another one. But
Yep.
also uh, the in sequences of individual levels, like I was saying, often one of them will be optional.
Hmm.
And I have some ideas about what we should do about that. Um, but they're, you know, game's not done, so they're not in the demo.
So,
Um,
i-
yeah.
if I've got this right, once these worlds are completed, let's say, there'll be an ending for the game, and then it will open up where the worlds will connect, or you can't reveal this yet.
Uh, I mean, we say this stuff in the demo, so it's not really a secret. This is a pretty mild spoiler, but at this point, because we've spoiled it for everyone, but in demo part two, so the whole demo is actually designed to get you to one of these ways that the worlds connect. So actually
Ah,
by the
nice.
end of demo part two, you will have seen this at least kind of happen. Although I realized after the fact that we don't totally. But oh, okay, so to get okay, so if you don't want to be spoiled at all on the demo, go download it right now and press pause on the video. Uh, so in part one of the demo, we give you access to these three worlds. There's the heroes world, which has these Dungeons and Dragons style guys. We talked about some of them earlier, like the warrior and the wizard, and the two that we added today were the druid and the bard, and they all have like powers that are reminiscent of the Dungeons and Dragons style
I love it,
archetype,
man.
but
Beautiful.
in a puzzle universe, right?
It's awesome.
Um,
Mm.
so that's one of the worlds. Another world is it's a guy in a mine, and there's these giant gems that he can like miniaturize and hoard and use them to like power energy beams, and the energy beams give you different abilities. And one of the worlds is these magic mirrors that we mentioned that you found to be the hardest area,
I'm not the
where
only
they
one. All
they
right.
teleport you in a certain way
Mm.
that you learn, right?
I got through it.
And
I did get
yeah,
through
yeah, yeah.
it.
So the whole plan for the demo the whole time, because we want to show people the worlds individually and then coming together. Because the cool thing about the game is that you have what's essentially four different they're not mini games because they're each
No, they're full
beefy, right?
games.
Like
They're four different
Heroes is like
games.
75 levels, right? Or more than that. I mean, in the demo, maybe we get, no, it's not that many, but we give you a lot of Heroes levels, for example, in the demo. But they're each individual games. And so it's kind of like you're playing an anthology of games, but the menu to switch between the games is you walking around on the
Yeah,
overworld.
yeah.
Um, and then the point that we're talking about when we say the games come together is like, oh, so the heroes at some point and the magic mirror guy at some point now run into each other, and now you have the wizard and the druid and the mirrors all in the same world, whereas before you didn't have that, right? And it basically ups the ante on what are the crazy puzzle interactions that could happen that you figure out,
So you're
right?
telling me the
And
wizard gets with the mirror guy at one point?
oh, in the demo, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, the demo. Yeah.
In the demo.
Oh,
But that's
my mind's gonna
so,
be.
and that's really one of the main things about the game. And it's hard to communicate this like a 90-second
I know, I know.
non-developer explanation TGA trailer, right? But it's like the thing that's cool about the game. Okay, one of the things that's cool about games generally, and then especially with puzzle games, what makes them good is that it's not that there's some puzzle that is hard and then you figured it out, because like there's lots of hard Sudokus or whatever, and some people really like Sudokus and want to do that, but most people they've played a few Sudokus and they're like, all right, I know what that is, and I don't really want to grind on like brutal ones for a week or something. And so what makes a puzzle game good is something different than that. And different designers actually have slightly different angles on this. But for me, there's a few things, and one of them is, well, one that a lot of people out there understand is just this idea that there's a surprise. Like the solution isn't something you just grind to. It's like surprising and cool in some way, right? And so you feel good about getting to the solution as opposed to, oh, thank God that's over, which is how you might have felt on that one mirror level.
No,
But
no, no, it
for the
was
most
fun.
part, for the most part, we just try to make sure that we communicate to you the idea. And that's what makes it cool. So to finish the explanation is just you've got this world where things work a certain way, like the wizard's abilities work a certain way. He teleport swaps with objects, but he compulsively does that. So if there's a stone over here and the wizard here, he actually refuses to walk toward it. He insists on swapping, right? And that creates a certain dynamic that's actually uh, a lot more interesting when you start looking at the consequences. Like once you start making puzzles with the geometry laid out in a certain way, right? It's a lot more interesting than you might have initially assumed just from that description. And that's kind of the part of the magic of puzzle games is like, oh, I got the basic idea of the wizard, but then I didn't foresee that this cool thing would happen with the wizard, and I didn't foresee with that cool thing that
Mm.
would happen for the wizard. And so, level design for the designers is about finding all the cool things and then showing them to you by giving you a level. And then the puzzle, right? The puzzle isn't like exactly an IQ test, although people who are good at IQ tests are probably good at the game. It's probably like the puzzle is making sure you get the idea without us telling you the idea, you know?
Mm.
Um, and then the getting the idea and like, oh, that's cool that the wizard could do that is what makes it fun to play, right? And so, and many puzzle games do this. My previous puzzle games did this, but what's different about this game is we already established that in the individual worlds, right? Like, oh, there's six different D&D characters and they all have different abilities and you're using them together in a level because by themselves they wouldn't necessarily be able to solve very much. Like the warrior could push a lot of stuff, but if there's something in a corner, he could only push it. He can't do anything with it, right? But the wizard and the thief and the bard could all get that out of that corner in different ways that have different consequences and you learn how to deal with this, right? And that's fun. And then, well, and separately, you go play this game with the mirror guy and teleporting around and like, oh, he teleports and the wizard teleports, but his teleportation is different and it has different consequences and stuff. Um, and then they come together and it's like, oh, the wizard and the bard and the mirror guy and like the fire breathing dragon are all in the same level. And it takes that surprise of like, oh, isn't it cool that this thing could happen? And it just like it explodes it up. Like anyone who knows math, it's a combinatoric explosion, basically, right? Which is the number of ways that things could combine together gets really big really fast as you add more things. And so the goal of this game was let's give you a mild combinatoric explosions like you're used to in the four subworlds and then we put them together and like it's like a nuclear bomb supercritical combinatoric explosion and that's why the game is like really big because like I said our job as a designer is to find all the cool things and then show the cool things to you by making the levels that require the cool things to happen in order for you to win the level. And when there's a lot of cool things it just takes a long time to do that.
Is there a particular character that was harder to design puzzles for? Did you find? Like, was the wizard one of the tougher ones to get your head around on a design perspective?
Not really. What I would say is some of the characters do show up more in the later game and some show up less. And it's just by virtue of the way that their abilities combine with other things in the game is just sort of different based on what the ability is, right? And so I would say that like Druid actually is a little less utilized in the game, for example, even though even though his ability is very powerful, it's like
It's hard to mix and
we don't want to
match.
make levels where we do the same thing all the time, right?
Mm,
We do find a bunch of cool stuff to do with him, but it's less than
than
like the
others.
Bard, for example. Like the Bard has more levels just because her ability just generated more stuff when we went to look at how it works, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah. And then sometimes, a lot of the times in levels we actually the character can be more boring because it's about the objects or whatever, right? And so like the guy in Mirror Isles doesn't actually have any special abilities. He just walks around and he could push one thing, which is sort of the default character abilities. It's the mirrors that are special from that world. But sometimes, he shows up in the game as just like, okay, this level is about the objects and not the character.
I saw this game. Someone said this is the Elden Ring of puzzle games. What's your response to
I mean, it's not totally wrong. Um,
that?
However, I do want to emphasize, so Elden Ring is famous for a few different things, right?
Mm.
One of them is for being very large and having whole areas that you didn't even like. You go down into what you think might be a tiny dungeon, and it's like a giant, giant thing, right? So that's one thing about Elden Ring. And the other thing, of course, is that it's brutally hard. Um, I would say our game is the first one and not so much of the second one, just because so many puzzle games are brutally hard, and people have seen that, and it's honestly why a lot of people bounce off puzzle games and don't play them, right? In this game, though, however, you can't also just make a game stupidly easy because then there's no reason to play it like a puzzle game, right?
Mm.
So, what the way this game works is, we get the idea of what would be cool, we make the level for it, and then we just make sure that the level um, is more interesting in terms of the cool thing that it gives you than it is hard, right? Like the difficulty of the level is what the game is asking from you. Like, I want you to work a certain amount to win this level. And, sometimes that might be higher, sometimes that might be lower. But as a player, that's what makes you feel really drained, especially in a puzzle game, is like, man, I had to work really hard to solve this and I didn't feel that good. So was that really worth it? I don't know. And then you play another level and you're like, man, I had to work really hard. And after enough of that, it's like, well, I think I'm done with this game, right? And so what we work very hard, well, I'm using the phrase work hard in different ways, but what we really try to do as the designers is to give you more back than you had to put in. And that's always
Interesting.
the rule. So there are some levels that are super hard, but they're also really cool. And they're also optional because if you get stuck on them, we want you to be able to make progress in the game. It'll just be like you'll have this gnawing feeling that you really would have liked to have, win in that place over there. But that's the design rule, and people seem to be responding to it really well. Um, this is, the genre of game that this falls into is the so-called Sokoban game, right? Which very few people know what that means.
Uh,
That's a Japanese word that means warehouse keeper because in the 1980s there was a home computer game from Japan that was the first to do this kind of block pushing thing. But
mm.
like it's not the most popular genre is what I would say, right? And so part of the challenge when we go into making a game like this from the very beginning I've always been thinking about like, okay, what can we do to like really bring this more into the mainstream in like, oh, this is actually really cool how this works, right? And what I just said, I think is one of the key things is like we should not ask from you more than we're giving you in return in terms of just the feelings and the understanding when you solve puzzles.
Shout out to the art designers that worked on this game. It's a
Oh,
beautiful
dude.
game.
Yeah.
And not only that, but the sound design and music really transported me to the world. Um, and it's just all coming together. So it's really shaping up.
In some ways, this is the best part of game development. Um, because you see all that stuff come together, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. And you're like, oh yeah. I mean, I knew this was a good game, like design wise, the whole time, and we've sort of been developing the art style and all that. But then there's some point where it really clicks for us, like picking one sub point of that or one subcategory, like just how does a level look when you load into it and you're looking at it. We did sort of figure that out finally a little while ago. It was like a year and a half ago at this point, I think, where we did the first levels where we're like, oh, that looks amazing compared to everything we've been doing. And a year and a half sounds like a long time, but like this game's been in development for 10 years. So it's like not that long ago on the scheme of everything
Mm.
that we've been doing, right? And so you go for like 8 years and it's like, well, it doesn't look that good, but we'll figure it out someday. And then you finally figure it out, and it's like, okay, this is the game. Like, this is what we want to show to people that's going to be awesome. And yeah, and so then what we've been doing with the art from then until now is just taking that look and spreading it through the whole game, and making it all look nice.
So your focus now is those aspects, those levels that haven't been done, getting them done, a couple other little tweaks, and then we're good
Yeah,
to
well,
go.
there's a few categories. So we've got to
Mm.
do that. We've got to finish with the music, which
Not all
um,
recorded yet, is it?
not all recorded, but also well we have so the way the
Who's the
music's been
composer, by the
working
way?
um so Peter Dew and Martin Stig Anderson are the music guys, the main music guys. I think Peter, I actually don't know, like Martin I think did some music in the very beginning, but I'm pretty sure it's all Peter's at this
How did
point.
how did you find them?
So Martin, I knew because he had done a bunch of work on games like Inside,
Oh, wow.
and Limbo, which
Incredible
you,
games.
yeah, and they're very atmospheric games, right?
Yes,
Very importantly,
makes
and
sense.
those guys were a key. They actually didn't work on the visuals, which are one component of atmosphere, but so audio, both sound and music, I think are underappreciated by a lot of people, including developers, in terms of how important they are to make things feel, moody in a certain way. And I don't necessarily mean like even negative moody, but just like to establish a feeling,
Mm.
right? Like the soundscape is super important. Um, so, uh, well, so they'd sort of been working on the game for a long time, and the music has been in the game just as MIDI playback for a long time because they're working on the compositions and like,
Yeah.
we want something to play in the levels. But then starting a month ago, I think, time has been flying, so I'm not exactly sure. A few weeks ago, uh, we started doing live orchestral recordings of this, and it sounds a lot better. It just, and it's the sort of thing where people would think like, I mean, MIDI sounds pretty good in
No,
modern,
it's not
but
an
it's just like
orchestra, is it? Nah, different
humans
feeling.
playing is feels really different, and
Yeah.
it's just
I'm so glad you did that too, recorded. It just makes a difference. It really will.
yeah. And so
Yeah.
that's not done for all the music. And then there's, so the music for the base worlds is established, and some of the ways that we play with it as worlds come together is figured out, but there's just, going through the game. So as you go into territories, so in the demo, you go into territory that's like heroes and mirror isles put together. And so the music should be heroes and mirror isles put together, right? And that's an interesting challenge because there's 6 ways to combine 4 different worlds, two at a time. That's another math. Four choose two is six. Um, I hope that's right. 4 factorial divided by 4. Yeah, it's 6. Just making sure. Um, so
Ah,
so these are just the sort of things that we're working on as we go, just to give you a feeling.
yeah.
Like the baseline is established. You can listen to that music that we have in the demo, and it's like, okay, yes, that's the music for the game. But it's just there's details that just have to get nailed down before it's done.
Can I ask you, like, if you go to your Moby games, or whatever,
Yeah.
there's 50, 60, 70 special thanks to you across different games like Cuphead and, all these
Oh,
different
that's great.
games.
I actually haven't looked on there in a while.
What's
But
that
yeah.
feeling like when you are thanked that many times in credits for games? I mean, does that give you a sense of pride?
Yeah, I mean it's nice. So ever since I got into the games industry, people have different motivations, right? One of mine was always, I just want to work on like what games are. Where are we as a state of the art, both technically but also in design? Because I started just as a programmer. I didn't think of myself as a game designer at all when I started out. And I always just wanted to work on furthering what we understand about games and what we could do about games, but not in, some people try to do that like from academia and they theorize about games and stuff. But for me, the best way to do it always just seemed like by making stuff that both test your ideas about what games could be and communicates to people like, hey, this could be a game. So like with Braid, it's like, hey, this could be a game where you just don't have lives and you have infinite rewind. Like nobody had done that. There had been a couple games that had some form of rewind before that, right? Most famously, the Prince of Persia: Sands of Time game.
Oh yeah,
But it
yeah.
was also just very uh, traditional in terms of, well, the time thing is like some sand that you get and then you run out of sand and then you've got lives and then you die. And I was like, no, let's just make a game that has none of that stuff. And so that's just an example of the kind of thing that I've always been thinking about and how to do it. And so what you're describing is just a different way, like, maybe you have conversations with developers or, some, so I was part of Indie Fund. I still am, although Indie Fund is not as active as it used to be, which was a way of funding independent games. And I would give feedback on a bunch of those, and that's another way that I probably end up there. And another way is, I'm sure if I went and looked at such a list, it would be like, I don't know this guy at all, but like maybe he likes a game.
Yeah,
I
but
did that
that
in
doesn't
Braid
matter.
even,
You're
right?
still
Like
there. Yeah,
yeah.
you know what I mean. You're still in the thanks.
Yeah, and so in Braid, I did special thanks to Brian Moriarty, who was a game designer who I didn't know at the time. I came to know him after that, but I didn't know him at the time. And he
Hmm.
had just made a game that inspired me when I was younger. And, you know, so it's great. It's very nice. I certainly plan to go for a while yet. Some people, I'm obviously not that old, I'm like 20 something maybe,
You
but
only just turned
uh
30, right? Yeah.
yes, I turned something. Um,
Uh,
at some point people start wanting to retire and stuff, but I don't
you're
have
not going to
any desire
retire.
to do
You're
that.
like
I've got
me.
a lot
We're
of
going
games that
till
I
we
want to
drop, I
make.
think. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I got more games to make than probably I could make, even with optimistic lifespan expectations. So yeah, and then hopefully they start coming out faster. So this game took a long time. Part of that was I wanted to do a lot of things. So we built a new programming language, designed and built a new programming language to replace C++, which is the language people usually use to program games in. Because it's a new language, we built a new engine. We had just finished building a new engine for The Witness, and it took a long time. And I was like, all right, let's throw that away and
So
make
what? Yeah,
another
so
one.
that's gone now. That's just
Yeah, I
dust.
mean, we used parts of it. Like it's still there. Like we could get the source code out, but
But
we
you're not
have a,
using
a
it.
successor engine. No, we did port a little bit of the
Uh,
editor from the Witness over, and
okay.
oh, we still use for the light maps, which is the indirect illumination inside all the levels that gives them character. That is still code from the Witness that we didn't port over, but everything else in the game is a new engine. So, most developers, especially indie developers, would not try to make a new engine now. They would just use Unity or Unreal or Godot starting to be more popular. Um, yeah, we did it in a new programming language. So it was like on maximum hard mode. And also the game's really big. And so these things put together is why it took a long time. For the next game, I'm hoping we can do it much, much faster. Next game also is kind of designed to be modular, where
Oh, you know
you know
your
how
next
like
game
Binding
already.
of
You know
Isaac,
what you're
yeah,
gonna do.
yeah. Oh, I
Oh
do.
my God.
You know how like
Unbelievable.
Binding of Isaac came out and then he kept adding stuff to it.
Mm.
I don't know if you followed it back then, but it's kind of like that where we can release something and it's a good initial game, and then we could like keep expanding it. And
Yes.
so that's a way to get things out to people faster too.
Yes. You were you one of the first to hire Edmund back in the day?
Well,
Edmund
he was
Edmund
kind
McMillen?
of already known among indies. So the indie scene back then was not that big because it wasn't where people were making money, right?
Mm,
So it was just all about people who were enthusiastic about games. And so Edmund had been very successful on like Newgrounds
yeah.
and stuff, with like these kind of flash games. Um, and I was like, hey, I need to do art for Braid. Do you want to like animate the characters and stuff? Um, I feel embarrassed about how much I paid them back. It's not very much, but you know, he's very financially successful now, so
I was going to
it's
say, how
all
do you
good and
feel
great.
when you see Mewgenics sold 1 million? Like,
No, it's great. That's
it's
awesome.
great,
And
isn't it? Yeah.
well, so it's not only great for him, but like if you'll notice, basically all the really big hits this year are all indie of that kind. Like if I just name some, right? There's like, okay, Mewgenics,
Yeah.
Hollow Knight, Silk Song, Slay the Spire
Mina.
2.
Yeah, Mina the
Yeah,
follower.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I've been busy the past few weeks, but I imagine
They
that's done
sold
very
half a
well.
mil last time I checked. Yeah.
Yeah. Freaking Mecha
Mecca.
Chameleon this week
5
is
million. Yeah.
ridiculous,
I haven't
right?
played it yet.
And like, how
Uh,
many AAA games have you heard this year that have been that? It's not really a
not
thing.
many.
So like, I
RE9,
mean,
Crimson
GTA
Desert.
probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Crimson Desert, yeah, that's a good example. But it's like, it's just
Not
like,
many. Yeah.
you know, through let's say 2023 to 2025, there was sort of this question of like, are indie games kind of dying out because there's too many of them or whatever? And there was this slump in the industry as well. Um, but apparently in 2026, the answer is not really. I mean, there's lots of indie games that nobody ever plays, but if you're above a certain line, a ton of people will play your game. And in part, I think that's because there's a vacuum in AAA where either they're not making enough games or the games aren't good enough anymore, or both. Where, I mean, people want to play something. People who like video games want to have stuff to play, right? And if like Ubisoft and Electronic Arts can't supply those things anymore for whatever reasons, then indies can, right? And
Mm.
I think that's part of where all these numbers are coming from, right? Is like, oh, actually, Mewgenics is a lot better than whatever reheated Assassin's Creed was going to come out, you know, in terms of just having fun, playing a game and having fun, right? And so we'll
Yeah. Yeah.
see. I mean, we've gone through many eras of how games are, but this is the one we're in right now. So let's see. Let's see how it goes.
Have you figured out a price for your game? And a
We
second
have
part to
thoughts.
that, GTA
Yeah.
6, do you think they're going to go like $80 when they reveal the price in a couple of weeks?
You know, I couldn't tell you what AAA people are thinking. I do think if there were a game that could do a high price point and people would
It's
buy
that.
it,
Yeah.
it's that. I still think, you know, if I were a AAA company, I would offer two levels of the game or whatever, right? And just let like, oh, there's a version at a lower price, like 70 or whatever, right? But if you buy the 100, you get, and
This
maybe
and
it's some
this. Yeah.
stuff that's, you know, maybe it's like a bunch of side missions and cool cars or whatever. That's what I would do.
Mm.
Um, like, you know, give people who want to pay you more because they like your game the ability to do that,
Yeah.
but also, you know, don't have a super high price. But I don't know, you know, Apple, you know, when they released the iPhone, took the totally opposite tactic, which is just like, look, this is expensive, man. You got to pay for it. And that worked for them. Does that work for a video game in 2026? I don't know, maybe. But there was this thing, I mean, I don't remember who, but
Yeah.
like about a year ago, weren't there some AAA games where they were like, this is going to be $100? Like they announced that and there was massive backlash.
Yeah, there was. I forgot the
Yeah.
game, but yeah, there was. I think it was Outer Worlds or
Mm.
something. Like it was expensive. Yeah. Outer
Yeah.
Worlds
And
2.
so I don't know. I'm sure they have a lot of thoughts on this. So for us, we also think about this, but we're not, you know, we're not about to charge AAA pricing by any means. Um, I think, we haven't announced price yet, and we probably won't till we're pretty close to launch. But the thoughts that I have is just, especially when a game is a little bit not the most popular, right? Not the most popular genre. I don't mean the specific game, but like, puzzle games are less popular than shooters, broadly speaking, or whatever, right? And so people come into your game like they see it on Steam and they're like, do I want to play this or whatever? Um, if you make it easier for them, you might get more people than you think, right? As opposed to like, if it's really pricey, you're kind of just filtering for people who know they really want this thing. Which there
Hmm.
are, so there's people who like The Witness and who like Braid and maybe who like, you could think of some other indie puzzle games that have done very well, like the Talos Principle games or something like that. And so those people would probably buy, or some fraction of those people would buy at an expensive price. But I think you don't want to aim super high if you want people to like be like, oh yeah, let me just see how this is, let me try it out. Because even, on Steam, like consoles are different, but on Steam, they'll let you refund the game if you've played less than 2 hours. And so that's a good way to try things. I mean, also, obviously, the demo we put up is also a good way to try things. But like, even though that's theoretically low friction, like let's imagine that we put the game up for $100, which we're not going to do, right? I think a lot of people just would be turned away by that. They wouldn't be like, oh,
Yeah.
let me just give them my $100 and maybe refund it in 2 hours. They're just going to be like, nah, that's not for me, right? And
Mm.
so we're still thinking about it. And then also,
Are you actually still
obviously
thinking?
as
Like,
a developer,
are you,
huh?
you don't have, you still are deciding
We
legitimately?
think we know what the price is,
Okay.
but we're I mean, until you announce it, you just have the opportunity to think further and make tweaks, right?
Well, let us know in the
Um,
comments, guys, what you think the price will be.
yeah, let
Let's
us
let's see
know.
what they say. Yeah.
Um, the game has
1,000 puzzles,
1,400
yes.
puzzles or something. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Um,
It's not going to be $10. Yeah, we know.
yeah. I mean, if it's $1 per puzzle, it's $1,000, right? That's a good price.
That's an
Uh,
interesting model. Yeah.
yeah. Um, no, so we're thinking about these things just
Yeah, of
creatively as well. So there's one part is, look, I want to stay in business to make these games, but
course.
I'm not one of these really business, or that's not the motivating factor. Because the reason why I'm doing this company as opposed to like working at a different game company is because I want to make certain kinds of things, right? These are games that are different, that other people wouldn't make if I didn't make them, and that are trying out design ideas and even technical ideas like this whole programming language and stuff. And so I want to stay in business, but if you get, as a developer, you let yourself be too hypnotized by the idea of chasing the money or whatever, there's this trap you get into because, everybody who wants to make money sort of ends up doing the same thing. Like, let's look at the market research and see what people are buying right now. And, oh, Mecha
Yeah.
Chameleon's really big. Let's try and make our own hide and seek game, but it'll be like hide and seek in space or something, right? Um, and then you start doing the same thing as other developers. And then the irony of that is that,
You're probably too late by the time you're out
well,
anyway.
you're too late,
Yeah.
but also there's 17 other people who did the
Who did
same
the
thing
same
as you,
thing.
and you're not going to stand out probably, right? So for me, it's always been creatively sourced. It's like we're trying to make a contribution to the world, both to the field of games and then also just to individual. Like we want to give you a nice time when you play our
Yeah.
game. And that's primary. And then I sweat about the money once the game is designed and all that. So that doesn't influence the game's design, right? But so all that is just to say that's also a reason to not be too expensive because like you just want people to have a good time with your game, especially after working this hard on it for this long. It's like
You just want people to play it. Yeah.
I just want people to play it. Yeah. And
Yeah.
we got some of that this week. We're still getting it, right? The demo stops Monday morning and it's been great just to watch people play. I mean, you can't see most people playing, but enough people play it like on Twitch or something that you could just pop on the channel and be like, "Oh yeah, cool. He's enjoying this puzzle or whatever."
Yeah. That must be a crazy feeling after 10 years, especially.
It's yeah. Yeah, it's been a long time, man.
Could I,
I am not doing that again.
is there, sorry, I got two more, and I'll let you go.
Yeah.
Is there a puzzle out of the thousand in this game that you believe is the hardest puzzle in the game by far? Like, you know for a fact this is the one that's going to challenge people the most, or not? There's not this grand number one hardest.
There are couple. I'm
A
thinking of
couple.
two specific puzzles right now that are hard for different reasons.
Yeah.
One is just like really large and intricate, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Another one is small and looks kind of straightforward, but the surprise that you would do to get to the solution is hidden in plain sight, but in a really subtle way. Um,
Interesting.
yeah.
Those ones always get me as well.
Yeah, both of those
Uh,
puzzles are optional that I
yep.
mentioned.
Yep.
But people are, people who are really into puzzles are going to enjoy all the difficult optional levels.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And I noticed Braid was kind of with Xbox,
Yeah.
Witness was with PlayStation, and now this is with Switch. Is that a conscious choice, or has that just randomly happened where you've worked with all three?
It's just what happened over time,
Yeah.
and it's just what are the circumstances of any place at any time. It's
Interesting.
just, Nintendo has been great this year. Like they gave us, I don't know how much coverage people have seen of Summer Game Fest in terms of like photos of the event. I mean, people probably see, the Jeff Keighley's show where he plays all the trailers, but they had this like 3 or 4 block long in LA. It was like a mini E3 that was just for press and influencers. And Nintendo like had this big restaurant that they'd rented out, and it
Oh
was
wow. I
it
didn't
was
know that.
decorated like a bunch
Yeah.
of rooms from a house. So there was like a bedroom with bunk beds, and there was like our
Oh
room was
wow.
like the living room. So we had like a couch and a TV and stuff. And
That's a cool
we
concept.
had this space for I think 4 days, and we were just chilling, showing the game to people. And so that kind of support's really great. And um, we would do that with other parties, but I think if you look at both, and this is not to badmouth anyone, but I think if you
No.
just look at the promotional efforts of other console makers right now,
Yeah.
they just don't really have any indie stuff in their shows right now for the most part, you
Mm,
know? Whereas Nintendo does, if you look at coverage of Summer Game Fest, they've got a
100%.
bunch of stuff. And so that's just what the moment is. The people we've been working with at Nintendo this year have been really cool. And I've enjoyed it for sure.
I feel like I'm battling between playing this game on Switch 2 versus Steam because
Yeah.
it'd come up beautifully on Switch 2. It'd work perfectly.
It
We'll
depends
see.
on what you want and where you want to play
Yeah.
games. I mean, Switch
Yeah.
2 is super portable and super light, right?
Mm,
I mean, look at this thing. It's
yeah,
like
man.
you could just like play right there.
Yeah.
Um, but Switch 2 fans know that. They know how nice it is. And then
Has
you
it
just
been
drop it into the dock.
hard to be
Yeah.
optimized? The game on Switch 2 has it been pretty seamless.
Anytime you're gonna go on portable, there is that. So there's at first it's like we got to get the frame rate high enough that it's a nice chance. So with any portable like this, actually Steam Deck is different, but with most portables, Switch 2 included, when it's plugged into a dock displaying on a TV, it's running at a higher rate, right? You get more GPU power and stuff because it's got power right there. and you're not as worried about it overheating or whatever because you're not holding it directly and all these things, right? Whereas if you're taking it on a trip, you want the battery to last it a long time. You want it to be comfortable. And so it's in a somewhat lower power mode at those times, right? And so that's one challenge is like, okay, we want to make it run fast enough. And then once you achieve that, it's like, okay, well, we still want to optimize even more because now that the frame rate's acceptable, you still want to use less battery for people, right? And um, but it's nice. So the thing is, programmers really like console development, most of them compared to PC. Because on consoles, you know exactly what you're dealing with. Like, here's the
It's
CPU, here's the
one thing.
GPU,
Yeah.
here's the size of the battery, here's how the sticks feel if you're like tweaking stuff for the sticks, right? And
Yeah.
on PC, you have no idea. It's like literally anything. And so it's a lot more fun to optimize for consoles and just in general fixed platforms like that. So we're not done with that. Like we're still making the rendering faster for Switch 2. Um, but it's nice. It's a fun thing
Has
to
it
do.
been any easier or any harder than the other consoles over the years? Or they're all just kind of similar, or what? It's too
Um,
nuanced.
it's pretty nuanced. What I will say is I have not mostly been looking at the console ports right now because my job has been design and
Yeah.
story and running the company and then doing that kind of stuff. I do a fair amount of programming too. I don't want to minimize that. But most of the programming I do is like stuff for across all platforms. So when I say I do design, it means I also program, like I think about how the object should work, and then I go program it in. But how the wizard works, how the wizard's powers are implemented in code is the same across every, like that doesn't change on Switch 2 from PC or whatever. And so that's most of the
Yeah.
code that I've been doing. Um, and so the guys who have actually been doing the direct porting would have much more of a window into that. But in general, what I would say is every system has its ups and its downs. And when you've been in the industry long enough, you've seen a bunch of them, um, especially because, early in a console life cycle, you're targeting a system that's new and like they're trying to get it out. Like console manufacturers aren't race with each other, so you want to get your system out earlier because then it's more impressive relative to what's out at the time, right? And so my best memory, and anyone out there who is a PS3 developer will know this, is the development kit for PlayStation 3.
Was
It was
yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
It's like a giant battle tank. So
Yeah.
um like if you imagine a big
Uh,
PC tower case from today,
that's what
but
it
stack
was.
two of them on top of each other
You're
and
kidding.
2D. It's like if you took four of them and it was literally, I mean, I'm sitting down right now, but it like probably came up to here or
So it was a
something. And
nightmare. It
it was
was the night.
massive. It was massive.
Yeah.
And it was because they were making this CPU, like the cell processor. It wasn't an off-the-shelf CPU from like, whatever Intel is making this week and so
Yeah.
just you had to build the whole ecosystem around it and then miniaturize it. Whereas, you know, the development kit for a Switch 2 is not that different from a retail Switch 2. So these just when you've been in the industry for a long time, you just see a bunch
Yeah.
of things. You see
See
a
some things.
bunch of things.
Guys, make sure you check out Order of the Sinking Star demo. What if you're in time? If not, wish list the game. From what I've played, John, this you can quote me on this. Best puzzle game since Portal 2.
All right. Well, you heard him. Go
Put it
click
on
the
the
wish list
box.
button.
From what I've played, it could go all to shit
It
after
could
the demo.
actually, it actually gets better as you play
But
it.
you're telling me it gets better, so
Yeah.
my
Well, you don't
hopes
have
are
to
high.
believe me, but you buy the game. If it doesn't get better in 2 hours,
And
you could refund it.
finally, where are we on the achievements? Are you going to put me through my paces and make me do all of them to get all the achievements, or what?
Well, there is, so, we do have achievements on platforms that have achievements.
Yeah.
I see them as just a thing beside the main game, right?
Yeah,
Like,
of course.
if
Yeah.
you want to achievement hunt, that's
A
great. There are
companion.
a
Yeah.
number of achievements that you would get in the natural course of playing the game. We don't give out any stupid, like, congratulations, you entered the first level. Like, we don't have any like that. There are quite a few I don't remember the exact number.
Don't
Don't
tell me
quote me
there's
on
like
this. I think there's,
300 like Edmund.
no, I think there's around 30. I can
Oh,
actually tell
okay.
you
That
right
because
now.
he put 300 fucking achievements in Mewgenics. That
Well, I'm
bastard.
not surprised about that either, but yeah, it looks like there's around 30. Don't quote, it might be a little bit less than 30, but
Yeah.
just to give you the idea, like in The Witness, there was a lot fewer than that. I think it
I
was probably
platinum the
like
witness.
14.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was beautiful. Yeah.
And so there will be a completionist achievement, for example, like did you solve every single puzzle in the game,
So there will
which
be.
will be
Yeah.
quite a feat.
Yeah. There you go.
Not
Yeah.
many people will get that one.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Nah. Thank you for your time, mate. I
Yeah,
appreciate
yeah.
it.
Right on. It's been great talking to you.
Anything else you want to say? I'll let you go.
No, just like, try the game out, even if you don't think puzzle games are your thing, because we're do, we're doing what we can to make it uh something that gamers in general would enjoy as opposed to like puzzle gamers, but without dumbing it down, right? It's like we're bringing the game to you, but only insofar as that makes sense. So it's still, it's probably not for everybody, but it's probably for a lot more people than like a typical puzzle game. And I think that's, when Valve did Portal and Portal 2, they were thinking that way too. I, Probably. I mean, I can't speak for them, but it's like,
Yeah, yeah,
there's a lot about those games where it's like, Portal and Portal 2 are not trying to brutally humiliate you because you're not smart enough to do the puzzles, right? They're about you're going to have a good time, it's funny, there's jokes and the puzzles are cool, right? And we're doing a similar thing here. We're not as much like an outright comedy in the writing, but there's some jokes that are pretty good, I think. So yeah, and we just appreciate it when people try our stuff. We've been working for 10 years on this, and part of the reason it's been so long. So part of it is because it's this big endeavor, like I was saying, but part of it is also because we're trying to do the good version of all this, and that's difficult and takes time. A lot of people like you could just have slopped something together that did the high concept of the game, but the puzzles weren't that good and the graphics aren't that good and whatever. We could have released something like that years ago, right? But we've been keep working on it to make it really good. And it's all because we're trying to bring you something nice. And we appreciate you when you appreciate nice things as well. So try it out. Let me know how you feel about it. And yeah, I'm also just happy. It's kind of crazy because on the one hand, like I've been working on this for 10 years and it's difficult to do that. It's just,
dude,
I mean, it's
that's
not,
crazy.
it's
Yeah.
not mining coal in a mountain. Like that's a real hard job, but for software development, most people don't work 10 years on something without any external validation or whatever. And, paying for it at a mostly, yeah, it gets really difficult. But um, I mean, it's just so great to like be able to do this for a living. Like, wow, I get to make video games. Like, isn't that crazy? Isn't that weird?
It is
Like
weird, isn't it?
you
Yeah.
can you could have a life where the thing that you do is come up with ideas for little dudes on the screen to do. Like that's pretty cool, actually. And so I try to just stay constantly aware of that. And
Yeah.
that's only possible because the players like your game. And so I hope y'all like it.
Thank you, John. I appreciate your time.